Welcome to the AI Disability Podcast, where lived experience meets artificial intelligence. My name is John McKenna, using an AI-generated voice to explain that I'm the human producer behind the AI Disability Podcast. I bring over 60 years of lived experience as a person with a physical disability, along with a lifelong interest in accessibility, inclusion, and the power of shared experiences. As producer, my role is to choose the themes for each episode, guided by my belief that some messages, experiences, and conversations need to continue to be heard. From there, artificial intelligence researches the theme, develops the conversations, using two synthetic voices you will hear as your hosts. Together, we explore disability, technology, accessibility, inclusion, and the future possibilities of AI. Because this podcast is AI generated, listeners are encouraged to independently verify information. The content is designed to encourage discussion, curiosity, and exploration, and should not be assumed to always be complete, accurate, or factual. The voices are artificial. The message is real. Please be aware. Some of the words in this episode may be hard to understand. A suggestion that may help would be to listen with somebody and then discuss. Imagine you get a letter about your health, your rent, or your NDIS plan, and the words might as well be a locked door. If you can't understand the information, do you really have equal access?
That's the heart of it, Riley. I'm Ashley, and today we're talking about accessible communication, especially for people with intellectual disabilities, people from multicultural backgrounds, and adults who have low literacy or illiteracy.
And I'm Riley. This isn't a niche design issue or a nice-to-have community extra. It's about whether people can make choices, complain, vote, consent to treatment, catch a bus, or simply join in.
The scale is bigger than many people realise. The Australian Bureau of Statistics Adult Skills Survey found that a large share of adults have low English literacy, and accessible communication specialists often cite the figure of about 44%.
Wait, nearly half? That's one of those numbers that makes you look at every form, poster, app screen, and government letter differently.
Exactly. And it's not just about whether someone can read individual words, it's whether they can use the information in real life, under stress, with time pressure, with jargon, and sometimes in a second or third language.
So our angle today is pretty practical. What does being more inclusive actually look like when the barrier isn't a ramp or a doorway, but a sentence?
A good starting point is easy read. That's a communication style using short sentences, everyday words, generous white space, and images that help explain the meaning, not just decorate the page.
So not baby talk then, because I think that's the first misunderstanding people have, and honestly, it's a pretty damaging one.
Absolutely not baby talk. Done well, easy read is respectful, accurate, and co-designed with people who actually use it, including people with intellectual disability and people with communication support needs.
That word, co-designed, gets thrown around a lot. In this context, what does it mean beyond inviting someone to a meeting and giving them a biscuit?
It means people with lived experience help shape the content from the start. They test whether the words, layout, images, and order make sense, and they can say, "No, this bit is confusing," before it goes public.
I love that because it shifts the question from, did our team understand the document, to, did the community it's for understand the document?
Yes, and that matters in high-stakes settings. Think medical appointments, Centrelink, tenancy notices, police statements, courts, schools, emergency warnings, banking, and aged care. Confusing information can have serious consequences.
Let's make that concrete. Say someone with an intellectual disability gets a letter about a medication change. What can go wrong if the letter is written in dense clinical language?
They might not understand the dose, the side effects, or what to do if something feels wrong. The Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare has highlighted poor communication as a barrier for people with intellectual disability in health services.
And then the problem gets misread as non-compliance. The person didn't follow instructions, when really the instructions were never accessible in the first place.
That's such an important point. Accessibility often gets framed as helping an individual catch up, but really it's about the system doing its job properly.
Let's bring in multicultural Australia here, because this country speaks a lot of languages at home. How does accessible communication support people from culturally and linguistically diverse communities?
Plain language and easy read can help people who are learning English, but they don't replace interpreting and translation. If someone needs information in Arabic, Vietnamese, Mandarin, Dari, Auslan, or another language, accessibility means offering that too.
So it's not, we've made the English simpler, job done. It's, what does this person need to understand and act on the information equally?
Right. And multicultural communication also means understanding context. A literal translation of a bureaucratic phrase may still make no sense if the service system itself is unfamiliar.
That reminds me of emergency information. During bushfires, floods, heat waves, or public health alerts, the message has to travel fast, but also land clearly.
Yes, and in a crisis, everyone's comprehension drops. Stress makes complex information harder to process, so accessible communication helps the whole community, not just people with a formal diagnosis.
That's the big theme, isn't it? If you design for the person who finds information hardest to access, you often make it better for everyone.
Exactly. A parent reading a school notice while cooking dinner, a tradie skimming a safety update before a shift, an older person checking a hospital appointment, a new migrant filling out a form, they all benefit.
Let's talk about illiteracy, because the word can carry shame. Some adults can speak brilliantly, work hard, raise families, run households, and still struggle with written English.
And shame is a huge barrier. People may avoid forms, pretend they've forgotten glasses, rely on family members, or skip services altogether because admitting they can't read a document feels humiliating.
Which means inaccessible communication doesn't just confuse people, it can quietly exclude them from rights and support they're already entitled to.
That's why the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities matters here. Australia has signed it, and Article 21 recognises access to information and communication as part of participation in public life.
Okay, but here's the tension. Some organisations hear easy read and worry they'll lose nuance, legal precision, or professional credibility. Is that a fair concern?
It's a fair concern if easy read is done badly. A complex legal right or medical risk can't be casually simplified until it becomes inaccurate. The steel-manned version is precision protects people too.
I hear that. If a council, hospital, or bank simplifies something and leaves out the key condition, that's not inclusion. That's a different kind of failure.
Exactly. But the counterpoint is strong as well. Dense technical language can be precise on paper and useless in practice if the person can't understand what choice they have or what happens next.
So the answer isn't make everything tiny and vague. It's layered communication. Plain summary, easy read version, full legal detail, interpreter options, audio, captioning, and support to ask questions.
Yes, think of it like a building with several entrances. The full technical document can still exist, but it shouldn't be the only doorway.
Now, the user's instruction for us, well, the brief for this episode, specifically wants us to say artificial intelligence is a great tool when developing easy read content. So let's go there.
AI can be genuinely useful. It can draft simpler sentence options, spot jargon, suggest headings, generate checklists, and help teams produce a first version faster instead of staring at a 40-page policy in despair.
I have absolutely stared at a policy in despair, Ashley. The PDF opens and my soul leaves my body.
Same. But here's where it gets nuanced. AI is a tool, not the final authority. Easy read still needs human judgment, subject expertise, accessibility checking, and ideally review by people with lived experience.
So, use AI like a very fast assistant, not like a substitute for community consultation.
Exactly. AI might simplify a word, but miss cultural meaning, emotional tone, disability rights language, or an image that accidentally stereotypes someone. Humans need to check dignity as well as readability.
And there's privacy too. If you're working with health, legal, disability, or immigration information, you can't just paste sensitive personal details into any tool and hope for the best.
That's a serious point. Organisations need policies about secure tools, de-identified content, consent, and quality assurance. AI can speed up accessible communication, but accountability stays with people.
Let's get practical for listeners who work in a school, clinic, council, community group, workplace, or government team. What are 3 things they could change this week?
First, write the main point at the top. Second, replace jargon with everyday words or explain the term immediately. Third, test the information with someone outside your team before publishing it.
I'd add, don't make people ask for access as a special favor. If the easy read, translated, audio, captioned, or Auslan information exists from the beginning, that's equal access, not charity.
And include contact pathways that match different communication needs: phone, email, in-person support, interpreters, the National Relay Service, and time for people to process information before they decide.
What about images? Because I see a lot of documents with cheerful stock photos that don't actually explain anything.
Good easy-read images are functional. They support the sentence beside them. They should be culturally respectful, age-appropriate, not childish, and include people who reflect the community, including multicultural communities and people with disability.
That representation matters. If every image shows the same kind of person, the hidden message is, this service wasn't built with you in mind.
Yes, and accessible communication also has to be available digitally. Documents should work with screen readers, have proper headings, alt text for meaningful images, readable contrast, and not be trapped inside scanned PDFs.
The scanned PDF is the villain of this episode. It looks official, it weighs 3 megabytes, and nobody can use it properly.
A very quiet villain. Digital accessibility standards like WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, help make websites and documents usable for people with different access needs.
We're talking a lot about disability, but I keep coming back to the whole community benefit. Accessible communication helps grandparents, young people, busy workers, people in crisis, and people who don't use English every day.
That's the inclusive design idea. You don't lower the standard, you remove unnecessary difficulty. The content can still be adult, serious, and accurate, but it doesn't need to be a maze.
And I reckon there's a cultural shift in that. Instead of praising complicated language as professional, we start recognizing clarity as a professional skill.
Yes, clear communication takes craft. Short sentences are not automatically simple to write, and choosing the right image, structure, and tone can take more expertise than writing a dense paragraph.
So, synthesis time. Inclusion isn't only about inviting people into the room, it's about making sure the agenda, the signs, the forms, and the choices can actually be understood.
And accessible communication isn't a fringe format. It's part of equal access, especially for people with intellectual disabilities, people from multicultural backgrounds, people with low literacy, and anyone trying to make decisions in a complex world.
Ashley, final thought. If listeners remember one thing from this episode, what should it be?
Ask, who is this information excluding? Then use every good tool available, including AI, plain language, easy read, translation, images, testing, and lived experience to bring more people into the conversation.
Beautifully put. Thanks for listening. I'm Riley with Ashley, and this has been our 10-minute look at why accessible communication is really community infrastructure. Until next time, keep asking who gets to understand.